She had survived South Sudan. She had built a business in one of the most dangerous countries on the continent. She had dodged hardship, crossed borders, and carved out a life most people could only dream of. She was 28 years old. She was home. She was safe. Or so everyone thought. On the night of the 19th of September 2018, Monica Nawera Kimani walked into her apartment in Kimani, Nairobi, and was never seen alive again. What followed was a case that would shake Kenya to its core. A case involving a television celebrity, a self-proclaimed security expert, a borrowed gun, a stolen identity card, and a cover-up so desperate that someone stuffed a bullet hole in a wall with wheat flour dough. This is the story of Monica Kimani, a daughter, a sister, a businesswoman with dreams bigger than herself, and the night those dreams were taken from her. To understand what happened on that September night, you first need to understand who Monica Kimani was, because the media often reduced her to a name attached to a headline. But Monica was far more than that. Monica Nawera Kimani was born on the 12th of October, 1990, in Alkalu General Hospital in Nyandarua County. She was the firstborn child of Reverend Paul Garama and Miriam Kimani, a couple who raised their family with deep Christian values. Her father was no ordinary man. He was the founder of the Rebuilding Apostolic Faith Mission Church, with branches spanning Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, Uganda, and South Sudan. Monica grew up in Thika, attending school at the Thika Barracks area before later joining Thika High School. By all accounts, she was sharp, ambitious, and determined. Those who knew her described her as someone with a magnetic energy, someone who walked into a room and immediately made it warmer. She went on to study international relations at the Technical University of Kenya, a course that would later seem almost prophetic, given the international life she would go on to build. When opportunity knocked in South Sudan, Monica answered. The country, still young and still raw from years of civil conflict, was also a land of economic possibility for those bold enough to see it. Monica went there to run Miller Paul General Trading, the family business named after her parents, which provided cleaning and general services to high-profile clients, including embassies. She was thriving. She bought her mother a car. She sent money home. She was the kind of firstborn child that a Kenyan family prays for, the one who makes it and brings the others along. Her brother George Kimani, who was also close to her, described her as deeply spiritual. In the days before her death, she had been posting Bible verses on her Facebook page. She had recently gotten a phase, engaged to a South Sudanese man named Yazir Mohammed. A wedding was being planned. A birthday celebration was coming up. She was about to turn 29. Life, for Monica Kimani, was full of promise. On the 19th of September 2018, Monica Kimani landed at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, arriving on a flight from Juba, South Sudan. She had gone there to collect money from a business deal. And now she was back home. She called her family. She told her brother George that she would be heading to Dubai the following day for her birthday celebrations and wedding preparations. She was in high spirits. Life was good. At around 7:30 in the evening, a taxi dropped Monica off at her apartment, La Maria Gardens, on Katal Lane, off Denise Pritt Road in Kilimani, Nairobi. It was a quiet, upmarket neighborhood, the kind of place you feel safe in. She settled in. Shortly after, neighbors came by, a Lebanese neighbor, a Kenyan neighbor. They sat, they talked, They had a drink together. It was a relaxed evening, the kind of evening you don't expect to be your last. Then a third visitor arrived, a man dressed in jeans, a grey hoodie, a cap, and a white robe, known in Swahili as a kanzu, an unusual combination. He introduced himself as a friend of Monica's from South Sudan. Someone called Dominic Kamau. He had come, he said, to deliver some documents. He walked in, hugged Monica, and went straight to the kitchen, where he poured himself a glass of wine. He was calm, comfortable, familiar. Around 9 p.m., the neighbors left. Monica and the man in the white robe were alone. That night, Monica's phone went silent. By the following morning, the 20th of September, her mother was trying to reach her. Monica always called when she was back in the country. It was routine, but this morning the phone just rang, and rang, and rang. Worried, her mother called George. "Go check on your sister," she told him. George, who was in Kasarani at the time, made his own calls to Monica. Nothing. Silence. He traveled across Nairobi to Kimani. When he arrived at La Maria Gardens, he explained the situation to the guards and the caretaker. They knocked on Monica's door. No answer. Permission was sought from the landlord to break down the door. What George Kimani found inside that apartment is something he will carry with him for the rest of his life. Monica was in the bathtub. Her hands and legs had been bound with a white cable. Her throat had been slit from ear to ear. The television was still on. The water was still running. Her phone was on the floor beside her. George could not bring himself to call his mother. He called his father instead and asked someone else to break the news to her. Later, investigators would reveal that the cut to Monica's throat had been precise, targeted. The killer had aimed for the common carotid artery and the internal jugular vein, the vessels responsible for blood flow to and from the brain. According to the pathologist, it was the work of someone with knowledge of the human body. This was not random. This was not impulsive. This was planned. At 9 p.m. on the 20th of September, 2018, Kenyans watching the evening news on Citizen Television were told about the murder of a businesswoman in Kimani. The anchor who read that story, the anchor sitting calmly behind the desk, her voice steady and professional as she delivered the news, was Jackie Wangui Maribe. What millions of Kenyans watching their screens did not know, what could not have seemed possible, was that the woman reading that story would within days be arrested as a suspect in the very same murder. So, who was Jackie Maribe? At the time, she was one of Kenya's most recognizable faces on television. A Citizen TV news anchor who had worked her way up to prominence. She was stylish, polished, and well-liked by viewers. Was engaged to a man known in social circles as Joey. Joseph Kuria Irungu, known by almost everyone as Joey, was Maribe's fiancé. On the 30th of June, 2018, just months before Monica's murder, he had publicly proposed to Maribe. Nairobi's power couple, social media loved them. But behind the glamour, there was a man with a complicated past. Joey had worked as a security officer for a private firm in Dubai. He was trained, physically capable, and, as the investigation would soon reveal, he had known Monica Kimani far longer than he admitted. They had attended the same class. At the Technical University of Kenya, they had exchanged messages on Instagram. When police eventually confronted Joey about his connection to Monica, he denied knowing her. The judge would later call this claim, and these are the court's words, untenable, insincere, and an afterthought. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Kenya's DCI, opened a murder file. The Serious Crimes Unit, specifically the Homicide Section, took over. CCTV cameras would prove crucial. Footage from the area around La Morea Gardens showed a silver Toyota Allion in the vicinity on the night of the murder. When investigators ran the plates, the car led them to someone connected to Jackie Maribe. Meanwhile, witnesses who had been at the scene were asked to attend a police parade, an identification process. One person positively identified a man they had seen leaving Monica's apartment. They described the clothes he was wearing: a white t-shirt with patterns, brown shorts, a maroon cap. Later, Joey's own house help confirmed those were the clothes he had been wearing when he left the house on the 19th of September. A neighbor confirmed the same. 3 separate witnesses, 3 matching descriptions. But here is where the story gets stranger. 40 on the morning of the 21st of September, 2 days after Monica's murder, something happened at Maribe's apartment in Royal Park Estate. Joey and Maribe got into an argument at around 1 a.m. In the chaos that followed, Joey allegedly grabbed a pistol and shot himself. The bullet entered his chest on the right side and exited through his back, hitting the wall behind him. He ran to his neighbor Brian Cassane's apartment, told him he had shot himself, and asked Cassane to go and secure the gun at Maribe's house. They rushed him to hospital. He was treated and discharged, and then, and this is where it gets almost impossible to believe, the 3 of them, Joey, Maribe, and Cassane, went to Langata police station, and they told the police that Joey had been shot by 3 armed thugs as he entered the house. The guards at Royal Park Estate said they heard no gunshots. No thugs, nothing. When police searched Maribe's apartment, they found a live bullet under her bed, and they found the bullet hole in the wall. It had been covered over with wheat flour dough. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a detail that sent chills through the courtroom when it was later revealed. 2 days before Monica Kimani was murdered, on the 17th of September, a man named Dominic Bizera Haran went to Royal Park Estate looking for casual work. At some point during his visit, he lost his national identity card. That identity card ended up in Joey's hands. Friday night he visited Monica's apartment. Joey used that stolen ID under the name Dominic Kamau to sign in at the gate. That is how he gained access to La Morea Gardens. That is why the neighbors who were with Monica that evening thought his name was Dominic. He had planned this. He had borrowed a gun from Cassane under the pretense of going for a refresher training. He had stolen an ID to disguise his identity. He had dressed in a way that partially concealed his features. On the 24th of September and 25th, 2018, the DCI moved. Joey was arrested at Maribe's house and taken to Langata police station. When Maribe herself realized her fiancé had been arrested in connection with a murder she had reported on television, she panicked, she disappeared, and went to her parents' house. She later turned herself in. Brian Cassane was also arrested. He was found in possession of a Seska pistol, 62 rounds of 9mm ammunition, and a spent cartridge, all hidden in his ceiling. He was later released after agreeing to become a state witness. There was also a third man, a mysterious figure who had allegedly been with Joey at Monica's apartment on the night of the murder. Police launched a manhunt that stretched from Nairobi all the way to Mombasa. The man, a police officer from the Recce squad named Jennings Orlando, was eventually arrested in Embakasi upon his return to Nairobi. He was later released and reportedly advised to leave the country. The third suspect angle was never fully resolved. It remains one of the most troubling loose threads of this case. On the 15th of October, 2018, Joey and Maribe were formally charged with the murder of Monica Kimani. Maribe was granted bail, 1 million shillings cash, with 3 sureties of the same amount. She was also barred from reading news or conducting any interviews related to the case. Joey was denied bail. The court said he was a flight risk. The trial began in June 2019 and would eventually be concluded under Justice Grace C. Hoka. It would last over 5 years from the date of Monica's murder. 35 prosecution witnesses took the stand. The defense called none. The prosecution built its case piece by piece. CCTV footage, eyewitness testimony, the clothes, the gun, the stolen ID, the bullet hole covered with dough, the Toyota Allion, the phone records. Maribe's defense argued she had no knowledge of Monica Kimani, no motive to kill her, and no evidence placing her at the scene. Her lawyer pointed out there was no DNA evidence linking her to Monica, no communication records between the two women, and no confession. Maribe herself said she was with former NAIROBI Governor Mike Sonko on the night of the murder. Her phone, she admitted, had gone off, but she said that did not make her a killer. Joey's defense insisted he did not know Monica and had nothing to do with her death. Kenya watched. Kenya waited. The 9th of February, 2024. Over 5 years after Monica Kimani's murder, over 5 years after her family buried her in Gilgil, over 5 years of hearings, postponements, witnesses, and waiting, Justice Grace C. Hoka delivered her verdict. She addressed Joey's claim that he did not know Monica Kimani. She called it directly, from the bench, an insincere, untenable afterthought. She noted they had studied in the same class at the Technical University of Kenya. They had exchanged messages on Instagram. He had lied, and the court knew it. She walked through every piece of evidence. The stolen ID, the borrowed gun, the matching clothes confirmed by 3 separate witnesses, the CCTV footage placing Maribe's car at La Maria Gardens, the fact that Joey was the last person seen with Monica. She noted that the nature of Monica's wounds, the precise targeting of the carotid artery, suggested a person who was not acting in panic or self-defense. The pathologist confirmed Monica had not provoked her attacker in any way. She said, "The person who killed the deceased did not intend to give her even 1 minute to survive. It is the finding of this court that the first accused person murdered Monica Kimani. I find the first accused person guilty as charged." Joseph Kuria Erungu, alias Joey, was found guilty of murder. His bond was immediately revoked. He was taken to prison to await sentencing. As for Jackie Maribe, Justice C. Hoka found that the evidence did not conclusively place her inside Monica's apartment on the night of the murder. There were no communication records between the 2 women. The charge of murder, the judge said, was not the right charge to have brought against her. She was acquitted. However, and this is important, the judge did find that Maribe had given false information to the police. She had lied about how Joey sustained his gunshot wound. The judge pointed out this was a criminal offense, but because Maribe had not been charged with that offense, she could not be convicted of it. The judge directed the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to consider the matter. Days later, the DPP filed a notice of appeal against Maribe's acquittal. That matter is still unresolved. On the 13th of March 2024, Justice Grace Z. Hoka delivered her sentence. The probation report had painted a picture of a man who was volatile, impulsive, and prone to aggression. The autopsy confirmed Monica died from severe injuries. There was no provocation, no self-defense. The court found that after committing the murder, there was a deliberate attempt to conceal the evidence, the flour dough on the wall, the false police report, the cover story. Justice Z. Hoka said she found Joey ineligible for rehabilitation. She said the crime was, in her words, beyond restitution. Joseph Kuria Erungu is to face the death penalty as stipulated under Section 204 of the Penal Code of Kenya for the crime of murder. Joseph Irungu, alias Joey, was sentenced to death. He has since filed an appeal against both his conviction and his sentence. That appeal is ongoing. But Monica Kimani was buried at her family's home in Gilgil, Nakuru County, on the 28th of September, 2018, 9 days after she was murdered. Her father, Reverend Paul Garama, spoke of a daughter he described as hard-working and generous, a woman who bought her mother a car and worked tirelessly to take care of her family. He said, had been living in South Sudan for about 7 years. She had just been getting started. Her brother George, the man who found her body, carries that image with him every day, he said in a later interview. It is not easy to forget at all. George's wife expressed a grief that needed no elaboration. The saddest thing about all this is that even when we get justice, Monica won't come back. Her mother had simply wanted her daughter to stop by Thika on her way home from Juba. A routine visit, a hug, tea perhaps. It never happened. The family said publicly that they had forgiven Monica's killers, but they were determined to see justice done. And on the 13th of March, 2024, 5.5 years later, justice, at least in part, was served. Even with a conviction and a death sentence, this case leaves behind questions that may never be fully answered. Why did Joey kill Monica Kimani? The court established they knew each other. They were classmates. They exchanged messages on Instagram. But the motive was never definitively declared in public. Was it a dispute over money, a relationship gone wrong? Something that happened in the world of business between South Sudan and Nairobi? We may never know. What about the third man? The Recce E Squad officer Jennings Orlando. He was arrested. He was released. He was advised to leave the country. His full role in the events of that night has never been formally established in court. And what about Jackie Meribay? The DPP has appealed her acquittal. The judge found she lied to police. She drove the car that was spotted near the murder scene. The court said she was guilty of giving false information. But she could not be convicted because she was not charged with that offense. Will there be a retrial? A new charge? Or will she walk free permanently? These questions hang over this case, like the Nairobi night sky, vast, dark, and full of things we cannot quite see clearly. Monica Kimani was not a headline. She was not a case number. She was not a prop in someone else's drama. She was a young woman from Thika who dared to build a life beyond the borders of her country. She ran a business in a war-torn nation. She sent money home. She loved her mother. She planned a wedding. She was counting the days to her 29th birthday. She came home to Nairobi on the 19th of September, 2018, feeling safe. She deserved to feel safe. The story of Monica Kimani is in many ways the story of far too many young Kenyan women. Women who work hard, who dream big, and who are taken from this world by violence. They did not deserve and not see coming. As this case continues through the appeal courts, as Joey fights his death sentence, and the DPP fights for justice against Meribay, Monica's family continues to wait. No, for vengeance. They said they have forgiven, but for something to mean something, for her death not to be forgotten, for the world to know that she mattered. She mattered. This has been the story of Monica Nawira Kimani, born the 12th of October, 1990, taken the 19th of September, 2018, never forgotten. If this story moved you, please share it. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next story. And in the comments, tell us, do you think justice was fully served in this case? Or are there still too many unanswered questions? Because the conversation about Monica Kimani and about all the women Kenya has lost to violence is one we must keep having. Rest in peace, Monica.